from it? Like, what was your perception of those 6 conversations? Like, what did you think about them when you looked up at the board and you noticed the tallies?
To be honest, I thought that it was way easier than I thought it was going to be because I don't want it to sound rehearsed. You know,
Yep.
I want it to like slip out. I don't want it to be
Yep.
like I'm reading what.
Conversation.
Yeah, like
Conversation.
Doug told me to say these words, so I'm going to say these
Right.
exact words. So
right. Conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And it was way easier than I thought it would.
Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
So herein lies the challenge with it. It isn't so much that you don't know how to do it or even want to do it. It's remembering to do it. It's
Correct.
As you get busier, because right now things are slow, you know, and I know that Zach and you and are starting to get into your busy season. The idea is, how do you constantly remind yourself that the whole purpose of having this call is to make your life easier down the road. Eventually, it's going to get to where you're going to have people recognizing your efforts and acknowledging you, as well as, you know, the entire team. But you become the person that they build the rapport with, because you talk to the client more often than Zach does. Is that correct?
Correct.
And eventually, you want to get to a place where you're maybe originating your own clientele and you're out there building relationships with people on your own, correct?
Correct.
So this is kind of like the minor leagues before you get drafted to the major leagues. I want
Okay.
I want you to understand this part of it, because this is the crucial part. The more times that you can recognize what you're actually doing while you're doing it, meaning the whole reason that you're calling somebody to give them an update tomorrow is no different than anybody else in the business. Everybody can pick up the phone and give somebody information. The difference is your role or your purpose is to go beyond just giving them information, and it's to create situations that give you a chance to expand the brand that Zach has built. And the only way to do that is to constantly remind these people throughout your conversations. And to give you an example, so I set the stage with every client that I ever met, and it was important for me to do that before I gave them any mortgage information, because I didn't know for certain whether or not I was actually going to do a loan for them or not, but I believed that I had a better chance of getting them to understand why I was saying what I was saying if I was able to set the stage correctly before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I wanted them to go ahead.
What would you say then in the beginning if you're not, like, you would say the same thing, that, you know, you trust them and you want to work with someone that is close to them, like you say all of that first?
Well, my presentation with people, so help me understand, do you talk to the client from the very onset? Like, Zach gets a lead, he qualifies the lead, says, I'm going to give you over to Katie and she's going to take it from there?
Yeah, so Zach talks to them and I take the full application, but then he talks to them again about like rate and program.
Okay. So
and then I take it from there.
Okay, so there's a good chance that you spend a majority of the time talking to the client, and Zach spends about 10 to 20%.
Yes.
The doctor-nurse philosophy. He's the doctor. Unfortunately, he shows up and only spends 20% of the time with the patient because he's got a bunch of patients. But there's a bunch more physician assistants running around who spend more time with each patient.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And in all fairness, I have found that I have more relationships with my physician assistants than I do with the doctor, only because I get to spend more time with them.
Absolutely. Agreed. Okay.
So one of the things that you have to realize is, from the moment that you pick up the phone and talk to a client for the first time, you have to believe that it is up to you to set the stage, and that Zach isn't going to do it. I'm trying to get him to work on that, but in the event that he doesn't, I need you, because this is about your future more than it is about his future. He's going to get the business regardless. He can prove that. I'm more concerned about getting you to the place where you have your own clientele and your own volume of business that gets you to the place where you want to be.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the idea here is that every conversation that you have from the moment you open your mouth needs to be predicated on a philosophy of, I need to make sure that this client knows that we are counting on them to refer us. So the presentation that I go into with my clients was really, it's a five bullet point presentation. I don't expect you to know these all, flawlessly moving forward, but there's 5 different things that I would always make sure that you say. But in your particular case, with a client that's being referred to you from Zach, I'm not going to have you do the whole thing because I don't know if it makes sense for you to do the whole thing. So for the initial part of it, I want you to build rapport with the client, and there's a very quick and easy way to do this so that you're not wasting your time.
Sure.
So every client that calls you or you have a number and you call them, they're referred to you and Zach from somebody, correct?
Usually, yes.
Okay. What I want you to ask them is, so let's just assume that I'm in your position and I'm calling you and you're a client. And I'm like, hey, Katie, this is Doug Catter from Zach Karp's team. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you. Listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but Zach wanted me to touch base with you, and I wanted to ask you a couple real quick questions if you've got a few moments for me.
Of course.
Awesome. You know what? Before we get started, I got to be honest with you. Zach didn't tell me, but I know you referred to us from somebody. Who referred you to us?
Zach's previous client. He did a purchase for them.
Oh, what was his name? Do you remember?
Greg Smith, actually.
Okay. Wow. Oh my God. I remember Greg Smith too. I really enjoyed working with him. He was so much fun to work with. What did Greg Smith say to you about us that made you feel comfortable calling?
He said that you guys are very knowledgeable and communicate awesome. So I was interested in seeing if you could do that for me.
Wow. You know what? That's what I remember about Greg the most. I remember how much he loved, how fast we responded, how much information we gave him through the process. And you know what? He did tell us he was going to refer us, so I'm happy to hear that. That's fantastic. Well, listen, I promise that throughout this process, we have one goal and one goal only right now, and that is to have you go back to Greg and say thank you. So what we talk about today and moving forward until we make the commitment to work together, it's all going to be based on whether or not you go back to Greg and say thank you. So my number one concern right now is to make sure you understand that our business today is focused on making sure that our clients rave about us to the people they care about, much the same way that Greg referred you to us. And by the way, how do you and Greg know each other?
We're buddies from back in the day.
Oh, God, you guys, okay, all right, good deal. Well, so you can imagine how hard it is to get somebody to refer, especially in a situation where you guys are best friends. There's a lot at stake. And my whole philosophy around this is it's kind of like this thing called the triangle of trust. And the number one goal that we have is to create advocates in our clients by doing such a great job and being knowledgeable and being dedicated to the process so that you would feel comfortable to refer us. The way that Greg is, the way that Greg feels about us is eventually the way we want to get you. We want to get you to the place where you feel compelled to want to refer us to the people you care about, maybe a coworker, maybe a friend, maybe a family member. And to us, if we can do that, then I know that you'll go back to Greg and say thank you. Is that fair?
That's fair.
That was literally maybe 5-minute conversation.
Yeah. And super just to say it that way.
Say
Especially,
it again?
It's super easy to say it the way you said it because I never used the referral part.
Right.
And Zach's usually has referrals, so I never said, oh my God, so-and-so referred you, that's awesome.
Well, let me explain to you the mind science behind the building rapport, which is, because I really went through two of the 5 components of the presentation just to get the message across.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one in building rapport, there's a little bit of science that's going on behind the scenes. The first one is I tied the connection between you and Greg, and so I got you feeling good about your relationship with Greg first and foremost. Not only did I get that to happen, but I also got you talking positively about us by telling us what Greg said about us to you, and you were telling it to me. So just by you saying that, your level of appreciation has gone up, and I haven't had to do anything yet because you're reiterating to me the reasons why you're talking to me, you've now just gave me insight as to what's important to you as well.
Got it. Makes sense.
So what you're doing is you're getting the client to say the positive things about you so that you don't have to convince them that you're the right person for the job. They're telling themselves that you're the right person for the job using the information that Greg had shared with them, because if Greg and you have a great relationship, whatever it is that Greg said, you're going to be attracted to, because birds of a feather flock together. And when you tell me the things about us that Greg said, whatever you say to me or the notes that I'm taking that says these are the things that I have to make sure I live up to for you in order for you to become a raving fan. See how subtle that is?
Yes, absolutely.
What did you just hear me say?
It's not, and well, I was just going to say, like, it's not rocket science if you just get someone to talk positively about you. If I just get them to say that, then of course they're going to be like, oh my God, they are great, and then we are going to be great, and then they're just going to you know what I mean?
I do. As a matter of fact, I do. And then
Did
when
that
you
come
roll
off?
right,
Yeah, I didn't mean it to come off like that. I'm just saying, like, I've
no,
never
you're
thought about it
spot
like
on.
that. Yeah.
No, you're spot on. See, the whole premise that you have to do is you have to believe that Zach hasn't said anything about your business plan to the client.
Right.
Zach sells the process of the mortgage process. You need to sell the relationship now, because he's so far behind in trying to build he's got too many relationships to build any solid one, so he's leaving that position up to you. You have now the greatest chance on the planet, and you have a captive audience that you can practice this conversation with so that you can slowly start to build your business internally within the confines of the opportunities that he's giving you.
Yeah, and like you said, it's making me, like, what stuck out from our last call that you said was people wanted to talk to you more than they wanted to talk to your boss eventually.
That's right. Well, that's what my head told me. My head said, if I have any hope of getting out of this position and somewhere where I feel like I'm actually in my zone, I
Right.
have to get these people to want to talk to me first. Otherwise, I'm always going to be somebody else's assistant. And so the dialogue with the building rapport is just getting the client to talk about you in a favorable way, talk about the person who they referred, so that you can naturally bring in the whole, that's the way our business model works. We are a triangle of trust type business. We want you, regardless of what happens today, to go back to Greg and say thank you. But ultimately, if we keep your wants, goals, and needs at the forefront, knowing that you'll go back to him and say thank you, we undoubtedly will become, and you will become a raving fan of our business, and eventually you'll get a chance to have somebody that you care about come back to you and say thank you for introducing us to them.
Yeah.
Now, that conversation in the very beginning sets the tone for everything. And the next, and I'm only going to add one more piece to this for you so that you can practice that this week, is really just the agreement to work together. You know, when you sit down and have the conversation over the phone with somebody, a lot of times the consumer in their head is still trying to figure out whether or not they want to use you or not.
Right.
Zach has probably done a pretty good job to convince them that you guys are going to be the ones that they use. So what you have to do is you have to create an expectation or an agreement between you and the borrower, assuming that Zach has done his part, and the reason you're talking to this client is because they're going to use you guys. So the agreement has to be that after you're done saying the triangle of trust, I need you, Mr. Client, to understand that, you know, in order for this to work, in order for you to get the same level of service and the same level of knowledge and the same level of everything that Greg got, is you have to understand that our business counts on people like you to refer us. And I need you to understand that that's what we care most about. And as we go through this process, my role in everything I do is to simply get you to say thank you and give me a wow every chance that I can, because that's what I'm after. And if I'm able to do that, and I'm able to deliver on the expectations that I have set and that you've created for me, would you commit to being willing to, to refer us to the people you care about. And you get that conversation out of the way in the very beginning before you start going into all the mortgage stuff. Because once somebody says, I commit, or I agree, or I will, or I promise, that's a position that comes from a place of leverage for you, because they've made a commitment in their soul that says, yeah, I'm a man of my word, and I'll be more than happy as long as you deliver on your expectations. So every time you get a thank you or a wow or appreciative statement, that's them confirming that you're doing a good job. And that's your response, which is, thanks for noticing. Remember, Katie, we're counting on people just like you to refer us to the people you care about. And by the way, have you gone back to Greg and said thank you yet? Because that means the world to us, that he knows that we're doing a great job with the people he cares about.
So my question on that is then, so I set that expectation my first phone call when I tell them I'm sending their disclosures or what have you, whatever the first time I'm talking to them. And then every Tuesday I'm reiterating the same.
No, every Tuesday you're going to wait until you hear a wow and a thank you.
Okay.
Something. Your only goal when you deliver a message is to get them to be appreciative of it. When you get good at it, you're going to know that you're going to get a wow, and you're going to be able to control how much of an appreciative statement you're going to get. You can go from getting a thank you to, oh my God, you're the best, because you're going to know exactly what you have to say and what you have to do to get them from a thank you to, oh my God, you're the best. That's when you know you've mastered the art of orchestrating referable moments. Now that's with the client. The same thing applies with the realtors. Every listing agent that you're working with, you need to be the one that sets the stage. You need to be the one that creates the relationship that says, listen, Mr. Realtor, I'm not sure if you understand what our business is about, and I'm not sure if I want to muddy the water with you with that just yet, because we only got a little bit more time.
Well, actually, I was hoping you would finish that statement because I have a realtor meeting this Thursday.
Okay, so the realtor meeting that you have this Thursday, is it a listing agent that you did business with, or a new agent altogether?
No, it's a new agent altogether. She's a makeup artist, and she did my makeup for my wedding, but her parents,
awesome.
her parents own a real estate agency, nice. And she's a part-time agent, so she wants me to meet with her mom, who's the owner, and her sister, who's a full-time realtor, all together. So I'll have 3 of them in front of me. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So. Are you ready? And I'm recording this call, so this is going to be heavy stuff for you. So I'm going to have to be laser focused on it. So ready? Pin your ears back. Ready?
Okay. All right.
Okay. So my realtor conversations went very similar to this. I would sit down with them, and I would shake hands, get to know them, get a little time to build a rapport with them, and then I would ask them questions and listen. You know what? I know that you guys are sitting here trying to determine if I'm a good fit for your business, but I also got to be honest with you. I'm also sitting here trying to figure out if you guys would be a good fit for my business. And so I just want to get that out of the way because I don't want anybody to feel awkward or uncomfortable. I'm not here to try and sell you. I'm here to see if we would be a better partnership together than we would be apart. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
So let me ask you. In my history, I've met with a bunch of realtors. I know generally what the market's all about, but I just got to get a couple questions out of the way first, so I have a better idea on which way to go with this. So, if you had a chance, which would you prefer to work with? Would you prefer to work with a lead, or would you prefer to work with a referral, Katie?
A referral.
Why would you want to work with a referral over a lead?
Because they already know that I could do a good job.
Right. They're probably a little bit more respectful of your time. They probably recognize you as being a lot more professional and more valuable to them than a lead does.
Yeah, absolutely. Leads, I haven't had very good responses with that, to be honest.
So better conversion ratios, and for the most part, leads are usually you have to pay for them, right?
Right.
So referrals are free.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. I love that part where it's just free. So that's awesome. So, Katie, how would you define a successful transaction? Like, what's the definition of a successful transaction for you?
A successful transaction to me is start to finish, clear communication, and you close on time and everyone's happy. So there's
Okay.
no,
So you judge whether or not you close on time as being the end all to be all, even
no,
though there might be.
I
Okay.
know that, no, it's not the end all be all. I know that there's things that come up where sometimes the closing date has to move. I just know that agents and people who are excited to move into a new home,
Hmm.
if that
Hmm.
date is moved, it kind of like bums them out. But if
Right.
you could
Right.
if you could do it on that date or before, I think that's a huge deal for people sometimes. But to me, it's not the end all be all. I know that sometimes, situations
Right.
come up that you have to move it or, what have
Right.
you.
Right. Can I tell you what I believe?
Sure.
I believe that the definition of a successful transaction is getting a client to refer me before it closes.
Oh, well, that's a way better successful situation.
See, I believe that in order for my team and I to do a really good job, we have to set a benchmark that we all strive for. It doesn't happen all the time. People just don't refer you for a number of reasons, but but I believe that that should be, at least that's my goal, and I always try to partner with realtors who share a similar goal. I believe that the definition of a successful transaction in my world is a referral. And I think for a lot of us, that's probably it's probably very true. So on the heels of that question, would you agree that maybe a referral is the greatest definition of a successful transaction?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
that
Okay.
makes total sense.
It does, doesn't it? It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So what makes you like? I'm gonna ask you this question, but then I'm gonna put some things out there. So just give me a second. What do you think makes you and your team referable? So my experience with clients has always been the client in their head is always asking why should they use you? Like I know that when I sit down with somebody for the first time, they're always wondering in their head whether or not they should use me or not and why. And I always try my best to make sure that I address that conversation first and foremost so that it creates a great foundation for which I can create a really great relationship with. So my conversations with realtors, a lot of them have said they're all honest, they're all hardworking, they're dedicated, they work 24/7, they always answer their phones, they always return their voicemails. They've all taken their CE, they're all been in the business for a couple years, they all know the market, they all know how to enter a home, they all know, all their licenses and insurance and all that stuff is all up to date. So these are the things that I hear from a lot of the realtors. So your competition is saying all this stuff. So if that's what your audience is saying, if this is what your competition's saying, what would you say makes you referable? That's more that differentiates you and makes you more referable than the next realtor.
Probably.
Usually silence. I hear silence a lot from agents after I say this, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. But your answer should then be what your answer was to me. How
Which
many,
is,
like a referral before you're even done working with the one person, how many referrals do you get? How many clients refer you to other prospective clients, right?
right, right. So what I do then is I say, so let me just recap this real quick. So you prefer to work with a referral over a lead. You also believe a referral is the best definition of a successful transaction. And where you struggle right now is the definition of what makes you referable. So is it any wonder why we sometimes struggle with trying to get referrals is because we don't know what to convey to our clients so that they know that we are referable and we speak from a place of referability. So I'll give you an example. So I believe that our business and realtor lending relationships, a lot of the reasons why most of our relationships fail and we have very poor transactions is because we both don't operate from the same playbook. And I think a lot of times when you put all of it together, what rises to the surface is communication. I think communication is the number one reason why most transactions fail miserably and why most realtors have a dislike for lenders and why lenders have a dislike for realtors. And I'm not professing to say that I am not. I mean, I'm probably part of the root of the problem there sometimes. as well as I know some of the agents are. So we've worked really hard and for a long time trying to figure out what makes our team referable, and it really boils down to 3 different things. We are extremely great at consulting with our clients. We really spend the time to try to dig deep, try to figure out what their goals, wants, and needs are. That's vitally important for us, because until we know those things, or we know what perfect looks like in their head, we can't begin to map out the best loan product for them and the best path to get there. So we're really good at consulting. And you know what I found? That when you're a consultant, you really do elevate yourself to a place where people are attracted to you because they don't feel like you're trying to sell them, which I think is kind of cool. The second part of it is I think we're great, or I know that we're great negotiators. See, every time we help out a client buy a house, we treat that client as if that was our money. So we fight tooth and nail to do everything we can to make that process as comfortable for them as possible. So we're constantly negotiating between the listing agent, the seller, the bank, the title company, doing everything we can to negotiate all these different people and all these different relationships and all these different timelines to help our clients receive the best possible outcome. And then the last thing, which is where I think a lot of agents and a lot of lenders fail miserably, is we are exceptional at managing our clients' fears and expectations. See, I believe that no matter how great of a consultant you are, no matter how great of a negotiator you are, if you don't know how to manage your clients' fears and expectations, you will never be referable. And I kind of put this all under this umbrella of communication. So when we sit down in front of a client, I know why we're referable, because we do all 3 of these things exceptionally well. And you know the funny part is, you can't get those 3 things from a Bank of America or a Chase or a Wells Fargo or at a credit union or at a phone shop. You just can't. None of the discount shops can afford to give you all 3 of those things with the way that they pay their employees. So you lack in 2 out of the 3 usually things in communication, which is why there's so much of a disdain for each other. So I don't know what you think about that. I don't know how your business is run or what kind of lending relationships you have. But if you don't work with a lender that believes in amplifying relationships and understands that the best definition of a successful transaction is a referral, if you don't have that with your current lender, then we might be a great opportunity for you to partner with to really learn how to amplify relationships to the point where you're getting more referrals, because we as a team generate a better chance of getting them than you do it on your own with a lender that doesn't understand how they can do it.
So
and that's when I drop my mic and I walk out the door.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So I can do all of those in one umbrella and then break it down and say, of course you want to use me because my communication's the best. My communication's the best because I consult with my clients, and then I could go and break it down that way.
Whichever way, you can go listen to the replay again. But I think when the message is this: you want to get the realtor to the point where your value proposition is being the best possible partner to help them with their business, because you by far are the best person capable of amplifying the relationship on the lending side to help the realtor and you both get a referral before the deal is done.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you started out with I know that you're determining if I'm a good fit, but I'm doing the same. I like that. I'm not.
Say that again?
I like that I can start out saying, they're trying to determine if I'm a good fit, but I'm also trying to determine if they're a good fit. I'm not just here because I just want to work with them. I want to make sure I want to work with them.
Correct.
So that they know that I'm not there just to sell them on myself.
Well, what you're doing is you're positioning yourself to be in a place of want versus need. See, there's a big paradigm shift that happens when you tell somebody that you want to help them or that you want to work with them versus need to work with them. See, I've in my lifetime, I've dated people that were needy, and I'm sure I've been needy in relationships. And those relationships tend to fail because the one person can't sustain the other person's needs all the time. That's called leaning. And when somebody who needs something is constantly asking that from somebody else, that's a leaning feeling that eventually smothers and it breaks people. And so when you come from a position of, I want to work with you, I just don't need to work with you, it puts things at a level playing field, because you start the conversation off by saying, listen, I'm okay with, I'm okay, you're sitting here trying to figure out if I'd be a good fit for your business. Well, I'm also sitting here trying to figure out if you'd be a good fit for my business. We're very selective on who we work with because, everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's a very honest and genuine way of articulating what we all are after. And just like you did when I said, what's the definition of a successful transaction? You will never get a realtor to say a referral, but you'll get a broker or you'll get a business owner to say it, but those are the people that are thinking like business owners and not just transactions. Most realtors think like transactions, and so the purpose of that is to set the stage so that you're both operating from the same playbook. Because what in the hell's the point of working with a realtor who doesn't get it? Like, I'm not going to waste my breath. And usually after those 3 conversations that are done, like after I've gone through those things, if I don't think that realtor is a good fit, I just go, you know what, in all fairness, I think our businesses are going to be fine, and I just don't see us working together. Yeah, I don't get the vibe that I feel is necessary for me, and then I usually do the takeaway. I'm just like, literally, I appreciate your time, but I just don't think this is going to be a good fit, in a cool way. Then I just bow out. I just bow out. It's not for me. I realize that 8 out of 10 realtors that I meet with are never going to grasp what I'm saying, nor will they ever be able to be referable, and most of them will never want to learn how to be referable. And I'm okay with that. I'm only really after the 2 out of 10 that really get it.
Yeah.
So I'm never afraid to look at somebody and go, yeah, you know what, I just don't see it. I don't feel it. Remember when I told you that I'm not sure if you'd be a good fit for my business? I'm really not feeling it, Mr. Agent, and I appreciate your time, and I just don't want to waste any more of it, sir. Best of luck, and I wish you all the best. Bow out. There's no point in wasting your time. There's way too many of them.
Yeah, sure.
Have you friended me on Facebook?
I have not.
Oh, all right. Well, I want to invite you to my band.
Facebook official, Doug?
What's that?
We're making this Facebook official?
I need to invite you to my band of partners, otherwise you won't get half the stuff I spout out every day.
All right.
But yes, we are making this officially a Facebook official.
All right, hook me up.
I love it. What's your, what is it? Kathryn?
On Facebook, I'm Katie, Katie.
Okay, last name?
Chesney, Chesney.
Like Kenny?
Yeah, I wish it was Kenny. It's not. My husband has none of Kenny's money.
Well, money's not everything.
It is not. I did not marry for money, I'll tell you that.
All right, so when you get my invite, friend me back, and then I will invite you to my Band of Partners Facebook post. It's a private group where I post something every day, so if you want to, you can go back. I think I've posted maybe 150 things since I started. So there's 150 posts of just all this kind of mind stuff that I use to teach about referability and understanding how to, when you text people, when you email them, what to say, language, little bits and pieces. It's a lot, but it's a lot of great information that, if one or two things strike you, then by all means. But that's what it's there to help kind of supplement the weekly phone call.
Awesome. I will look for the invite then for sure.
Awesome. What else? And that's it. So the call on Thursday, I'll send you the replay. You can go ahead and re-listen to this if you find it helpful. But at the end of the day, I think any conversation you have with an agent for the first time, you need to ask them those questions. I think any new realtor relationship that you have on the listing side, any agent that you feel like you want to connect with, ask them those questions. Hey, Mr. Listing Agent, you know what? I've called you now for the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to ask you a question. Or maybe it's the intro phone call. Hi, this is Katie Chesney. I'm just reaching out to give you a introduction. We're going to be handling the Langley side of the sale. If you get a second, give me a call, and then strike up the conversation. Your message is, how do I get this listing agent to recognize that we stand to be a great partner and that they should sit down and have coffee with me? Every listing agent's a free at-bat.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, I never separated them until I started working with Zach. I always
Really?
just, yeah, like an agent was an agent. It was just a realtor, and that's what you did, and
Right.
you tried to work with them.
Right.
I never separated them.
What do you mean by you never separated them?
Like I never separated the buying agent from the listing agent. Every agent was just an agent. I never
Okay.
used it. Like the listing agents coming to us, they're automatically in our transaction, so why not use that? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I never looked
Get
at
it.
it that way.
Okay. Well, this is the perfect chance for you to grow your business this way. I think it's a
Yeah,
great way to do it.
absolutely. Yeah. Definitely making my wheels turn, Doug.
Oh, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't. Thank you for that, because I was a little nervous about my meeting, so.
Listen, this is where you can shine the greatest, and the idea is for you not to accept the fact that they are the prize. You are the prize. You have a clear sense of yourself. You have a clear sense of business. You have a clear sense of your of why you're referable now, and you stand to be in a position to go, you might not be a good fit.
Right.
It works. It does. Trust me.
All right.
Good? Brain
Yes.
full? Is that
Yeah.
enough?
Yep.
Awesome. I will send you the replay as soon as I'm done converting, and have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too, Doug. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Katie. See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.